Alright, and welcome back to AA Talks Ball on YouTube. This is the second week back in this little comeback on the YouTube platform. I'm really enjoying giving you guys longer content where I'm investing more time into it. I'm investing more money as well, if you see the setup behind this. And yeah, just putting more effort into it as well. And yeah, guys, just thank you so much for the love and support. You are here for AA's FA Cup roundup and 5 key takeaways. As I've been saying, as much as I'll do the match reviews and 3 key takeaways after every Liverpool game, also after every weekend of English football, I'll also be doing these videos where I talk about everything in general and then I give you AA's 5 key analysis points. So, without further ado, we had the FA Cup 4th round this weekend. So, of course, that will be the focus. A lot of good games across the piece. You know, a lot of big games, a lot of big teams. Obviously, now really involved at this stage. Some of them getting a little bit more tested now. You think about the Liverpool game with Brighton, which won't be a part of the 5 key takeaways as we've done the match review. And across the piece, to be fair, not a lot of upsets this time round. It seems like, you know, the Premier League teams were switched on this time around of the FA Cup. But we actually go quite nicely into our first key takeaway, as we did have one. Mansfield Town, take a bow, man. Take a bow. They beat Burnley, Premier League Burnley 2-1. Mansfield, who, by the way, if you didn't know, are in the bottom half of League One. I think they're maybe 13th or 14th, somewhere around there. They did absolutely superbly. And also, if you go watch the highlights, I didn't catch the game, but just go watch the highlights. They had a right go, by the way. It wasn't really the type of game that you expected. When I tuned in, I expected to see Mansfield sort of sitting back and maybe they scored 2 set pieces or 2 sort of scruffy goals. No, they had a right go. Burnley had a lot of chances. Burnley probably, if they showed a little bit more quality in front of goal, they probably should have taken that game away. But Mansfield had a right go, got right at them. They took their chances better, and they got the result, man. And I'm so happy for them. I even think about, they're both goals as well. You think about the first goal, it was like, you know, there was a little bit of attacking play. It then peels out, but it kind of breaks up. It peels out. Fullback whips in a lovely cross, first time to the back post, and the striker gets over the defender and heads it in. You see, I'm even acting it out, man. I was like, yeah, that's proper. You know what I mean? That's proper British style of football. You know, down in the ranks of the Premier League, showing some real English DNA. So that was fantastic to see. And then they also scored a free kick as well, which just showed real quality. A real great moment for Mansfield. You know, the club, the town, the small town of Mansfield, and honestly just another great moment from the magic of the FA Cup. And I think the key takeaway, just to reiterate, is that this really is just that magical domestic competition that always delivers great moments like this, man. I honestly hope that Macclesfield tomorrow, who I think they've got Brentford, I'm hoping they can, you know, hopefully produce a bit more magic, because they're down in they're like National League, Macclesfield, aren't they? And they beat the reigning champions Crystal Palace last round, so it will be absolutely wonderful for them to continue their story. But yeah, fantastic there. Secondly, for our second key takeaway, we're actually going to go to the Man City versus Salford game. Man City won 2-0, and to be honest, they won in, you know, they were pretty much kind of second gear. But a real interesting takeaway that I want to talk about from that game, and it also relates to the Arsenal game, which we'll come to, was that Man City started that game with a fluid front four of Reindeers, I think he was on the left, Shirky attacking midfield, and then Foden right attacking midfield, and they played Marmoush up top. To be honest, when they started playing, you couldn't really tell like what position they were, because it was so fluid and almost positionless. And it brought me back to, I don't know if you guys would have seen, I'm sure many have, like Umer, I believe that's how you say his name, sorry if it's wrong. He asked a question to Pep Guardiola about how at the moment he's playing a bit of a fluid, narrow, front three, and how come he's gone for that. It's quite similar to, he then made like a reference to an article that Pep wrote about Spain in 2006. And it's got quite a lot of plaudits because Pep was very impressed by the question. But I don't want to go too much into the detail of that. Just want to focus on Pep's answer. If you watch, go check that interview and you watch it. He talks about the fact that he's playing a narrow front three this season to get the best out of his players because he doesn't really have many natural wingers. And I just found that really interesting because it just shows that I feel like often Pep Guardiola is a manager who people think is very strict to a certain system and he won't ever bend to suit his players. But right there in his answers, he showed that yes, Pep has some principles of play that he will stick to, but actually he will adapt his system to get the best out of his players. And I feel like that is the key takeaway right there. I'm sorry, it was a bit of a long-winded explanation there, but adapt your attack. Adapt your system to get the best out of your players. Even the best do it. And I feel like that is a key thing where some managers, especially like, we use sort of like, a real extreme example like an Amorim, absolutely sticking to a particular system, let alone principles, and like really shoehorning his players into positions that don't make sense. And I just feel like when you do that, when you try and tailor your system to get the best out of them, you will just, it's just so fruitful for you. City today in that fluid front four, it looked beautiful, and Salford just couldn't deal with it. And what was even more impressive is almost as Pep brought on other players, an academy boy came on the right, Semenyo came on later. You could tell that the players had different elements of freedom within the system, and other players were doing things to complement them as different players came on. Like the academy boy, he played much more on the touchline as he looked like a proper real winger. And then Semenyo as well was almost allowed to stay on the touchline, which he likes sometimes, but then also drift inside. So each player gets different instructions, and then the fullback will sort of invert or overlap as per those instructions. I think that's really key. And I make another key relation with that when I watch Bukayo Saka in Arsenal's 4-0 win versus Wigan. Because Bukayo Saka was playing attacking midfield. I thought it was a real interesting role for him. I think it was interesting to see him in that position. I think he played well there. I'm not surprised. I think Bukayo Saka playing well in attacking midfield, if you know the way his traits are built and the way that he can retain the ball and the way that he can combine players, it shouldn't really surprise you. But I see a lot of people now saying that Bukayo Saka should play attacking midfield week in, week out. I don't think that's the answer just yet. I think that may come. I think he can play attacking midfield from time to time, but I actually think the problem is the way the system has had him, well, with chalk on his boots, on his boots, right on the touchline all season. That's the problem. That's not the type of winger that Bukayo Saka should be. He's Arsenal's most talented attacker. You've got him hugging the touchlines, just whipping in crosses. He should have some license to really invert and come inside to the pitch. So, and the fullback should probably be overlapping. I felt like lately with Arsenal's system, I've noticed that Timber's been inverting like really high and central and just taking up that space that Bukayo Saka should have. And I think if they make that change, Bukayo Saka out wide will still be his best position, which I still think is where he can play his best football now. And I think Arteta needs to tailor whatever else he's getting from the system to get it. It can't be worth not getting the best out of your most talented attacker in Bukayo Saka, in my opinion. And I think he really needs to make that change. Quite a long-winded second point there, I'm not going to lie, but I feel like I made two little good relations there that I really thought was a key evolution. Well, not key evolution, but a key takeaway from everything we saw from the Premier League this week. Sorry, just getting a bit of water. Cool. All right. Let's move on to the third key takeaway and kind of actually staying on the Arsenal versus Wigan game. I did watch that game, so that's why I've got that key takeaway sort of bonded into there, but that's why I've got another one, and it's to say, hey, Eberechi Eze, what a performance. Man of the match today. I mean, I was seeing Arsenal fans saying, oh, this Eberechi Eze, this is the player that we've been missing. I mean, how do we get this player every week? Well, I mean, you'd have to play in the third tier of English football to get that player every week. I mean, it's very good that he looks comfortable at that level. I mean, maybe that is his. No, I'm just playing. In all honesty, I actually do think that performances like that. Listen, we do have to be honest. It is a League One team, right? And it's you expect Eberechi Eze to be able to exhibit his qualities against such lower level opposition. But I do think that performance might be able to give him confidence to kick on. Do you know, like sometimes, yeah, and I think this is actually applicable at any level. You might be, let's even use Sunday League. You know, like you're in Sunday League and you and your team, you're struggling for a bit of form. You're playing in maybe like a promoted league. You're going from the B League to the A League, for instance, yeah. And then in the first couple of rounds of the cup, you come around and you play some C or D League team and everyone's just bagging in Hatties, bagging in Bear GA comparing, games like that where you're able to drop the shoulder, dribble past a couple guys, pull off a couple of things that you'd be doing on kickabouts. Because it's still a little bit more than a kickabout. They've still got a bit more than that. It makes you feel like, wait, I've forgotten, right? You know what I'm saying? When I drop my shoulder and I move here, bro, this player, he moves this way. I can do this. You start to remember yourself. And I feel like that performance for Eze, hopefully that was a bit of that. Hopefully it has allowed him to remember a bit of who he was, because he can do the same things that we saw in that game in the Premier League. So I think the confidence could be absolutely essential for him, and hopefully he can kick on, because I think it's been quite a disappointing start to life at Arsenal for Eberechi Eze, and for the price tag that he's coming in his prime, he does need to give a bit more. So hopefully he can, because he's a player that many of us liked at Palace, outside of the fact that we hate Arsenal. But no, I'm joking. But well, I don't like you, but it's not that deep. But outside of the fact that it would be funny to see Arsenal's player still struggle. I think for Eberechi Eze, he seems like a good guy. Got a big move in that regard. It'll be good to see him hopefully kick on and improve. And I think that confidence boost could be key. Anyway, moving on to Villa versus Newcastle. Newcastle come back. Newcastle, was it 2 or 3-1? It was 2-1, wasn't it? That second Tonali goal, by the way, absolutely sensational. I just couldn't remember. Oh, it was 3-1. Who got the third goal? Oh, I remember Voltemada. Remember, I think it was on there. I think they nicked it, didn't they? Yeah, they nicked it off the... They nicked off the goal kick or something. But I remember Voltemada kind of coming through as that one-on-one, and then kind of took a little bit of deflection back onto his foot. And he beat the keeper. But anyway, our key takeaway is not going to be about that. Our key takeaway from this game is going to be that these referees, are an absolute shambles. No VAR to save them this time round. And honestly, I just have to speak about that penalty. Well, that penalty that wasn't given. I think it was Digne. It was crossed in by Trippier. He handballs it clearly, and the referee gives it outside of the box as a free kick. And even forget about the referee who's a bit away. The linesman is looking right at it from 8 yards away. 8-10 yards away. And he doesn't give the penalty. It is an absolutely awful decision. Go check out, honestly. It's one of the worst decisions this weekend. I can't believe if they made that decision in a high profile Premier League game where there's a lot more eyes. We know that the FA Cup is not watched as much in the Premier League, particularly in these earlier stages. Bro, all hell would have broken loose. Obviously there would have been VAR, but you just think about this. I still think some of these, this poor officiating, I still think it translates into some of the stuff that we see in VAR, and shows why we still really do need it. I thought that was a really, really poor decision. And it could have been costly to Newcastle. Luckily, Newcastle still won that game because, they were still playing away from home. They were trying to get back into the game, and that penalty not being given could have been real costly. And you think about the fact if Villa didn't go, a man down after their keeper had an absolute mare, then still could have been a real key moment in that game. So, I just thought that was absolutely alarming. Anyway, last but not least, Chelsea beat Hull, I think, 4-0. And I just want to give a little bit of credit to Pedro Neto. I think he was a key takeaway, to be honest. I think he's a key takeaway as a player that, listen, he's not world class. I don't know what Liam Rosinha was smoking when he said that. But a key takeaway is just watch him. I know he's obviously playing Hull, and, I made fun of Eze earlier for the way in which people gassed that performance versus obviously League One position in Wigan. I'm not sure if Hull are in the Championship or League One, but obviously they're a lower level league position as well. But even still with Neto, he's always had something. The guy has always had something. That ball striking off both feet, the way he's able to beat a man in an instant. But it's just the intelligence in his game. But he's not quite like a Garnacho where I'm like, I'm not sure there's ever going to be IQ there. There is a little bit more there. Now, I don't know if he ever gets it to a top level, but he's 25 now. He's got a chance. I will say that. I see elements in his game where he's got a chance to maybe kick it on and start to show a little bit more consistency. So I'm just going to leave Pedro Neto as one to watch because I'm still not fully convinced. Obviously, it's like I said, lower level league opposition. And we've seen a lot from Pedro Neto where you're absolutely scratching head. But he's one to watch after the performance this weekend. A great hat-trick. I thought the first goal was absolutely fantastic. You know, little one, you know, kind of little intricate play at the edge of the box, and he just rasses it bottom bins. Top quality goal. And yeah, one to definitely watch. But anyway, guys, that is my 5 key takeaways after we've had the 4th round of the FA Cup. Excited for the next round of fixtures for that. But as always, you know, Premier League is our bread and butter, so it'll be absolutely excellent to get to that next weekend. And this video will be with you guys yet again then. Please like, subscribe, and all of that lovely stuff. Thank you for always supporting. I love you guys.